Welcome to another episode of Waynesboro at Work, a podcast where we interview business leaders and entrepreneurs to learn more about their businesses, the passion they have for their work, and a little bit of everything in between. Today, I'm really excited to welcome Joshua Foster, who is the Cybersecurity Operations Manager at Tiber Creek Consulting. So, Josh, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be aboard.
All right. Now we got to make this really official. Do you like Josh or Joshua?
Joshua,
Joshua.
I
Okay,
do.
perfect. We will do that then for the rest of the episode. So I'm really excited to have you here because I want to learn more about Tiber Creek Consulting, but I also was able to interview Dan O'Brien with Blue Ridge Community College in our previous episode, and he told me all about the cybersecurity apprenticeship program. And I know you guys are really closely linked in what you're doing. So I want to get into all of those details. But to get us started, tell me about what Tiber Creek Consulting does overall.
Certainly. Overall, Tiber Creek Consulting is a federal contractor company. We provide software engineering, software development, and information assurance services to federal agencies and commercial clients as well, using a lot of different frameworks for cybersecurity services. We're able to help our clients meet their cybersecurity and software development needs.
Gotcha. And I know you guys work with military contracts as well. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. We work with Army, Navy, DHS, um, Army Reserve. Yeah, just pick an acronym. I'm pretty sure we probably do a little bit of work for everybody.
Right, right. And I know that you are also the COO of another project within Tiber Creek Consulting. So tell me a little bit about what's going on with that. It sounds like you're wearing multiple hats here.
Definitely. And that is sort of the foundation of Tiber Creek. Everyone sort of wears multiple hats. We're a cross matrix organization, so we do a little bit of everything on a employee level. But our project is IntelliGRC, and it's stands for the Intelligent Governance, Risk Management, and Compliance Solution. What we typically like to tell customers and prospective clients is that you can look at us as like an example with TurboTax. We're a software as a service application that if you ask questions, upload documentation, you're able to then provide that sort of quick, seamless, and cost-effective assessment of an organization. TurboTax is great because they you don't need to be a tax expert to do your taxes. So we think the same thing of the cybersecurity market. In 2016, we started development of this tool, and then now we're getting ready for our public launch. So we've been very excited to get this into the market, and a lot of clients have given us great feedback to sort of enhance the tool, and we're ready to see what we can do.
Nice. That sounds really, really exciting. So one of the things that I kind of wanted to talk through is so often, when cybersecurity comes up, I will hear smaller businesses say things like, "Well, I'm too small. Nobody would ever come after my business." Can you either affirm or dispel that myth for us?
Definitely, and that is a a big dispel of the myth. Just because smaller organizations think like that. We've been in multiple conversations where it's I'm too small. I just do this one thing, and that's all. But if I'm a bad actor or a hacker, I look at that organization as a piece to the puzzle.
Mhm.
So if we're an example I always like to give, if we're building circuit board manufacture or you're manufacturing circuit board pieces for a missile, I can use your circuit board engineering diagrams that I can grab from your network to then say that for this larger organization, I know at least this part of the picture. Now I need a couple more other small organizations to make it whole, and then I can launch my attack. So very much, I think it's a huge myth, and I'm always happy to talk through that. It's just because, it's like I'm small, I'm not valuable. It's no, you're very valuable, and we need to make sure that we're securing your network properly.
Yes, excellent, excellent point. I like that, even the smallest of business can be a piece of a puzzle that a hacker needs to do something nefarious. So, really excellent point. So I know you have your office in Waynesboro. Tell me how that came about.
Yeah, definitely. So we have had the office there for this is the second year. We had started a partnership with Blue Ridge where, through their cybersecurity program, they were giving us students from the program and, facilitating introductions, and we were doing our interviews, and we kind of I think we hired up to 8 employees now from their program. So with that success and how everything's been sort of modeling together, Waynesboro graciously offered us a building on Main Street. So we've been there for, yeah, like I said, this is the second year, and it's just been great. But everything really starts with that Blue Ridge connection, because without the candidates, without the just the hospitality in general, we wouldn't be here today. So that partnership has been nothing but fruitful.
Yeah, in talking with the folks over there at Blue Ridge Community College, um, and for anybody that's listening to this episode, go back and listen to the episode before this one, and you can hear all about it. But they have a cybersecurity apprenticeship program, and as I was interviewing them, I was trying to find what the drawbacks were, but you're talking about a program where anybody, whether you're fresh out of high school, whether you're a career changer, a veteran, um, people that have come to this country as immigrants or refugees, women who are usually underrepresented in IT, anybody can go into this program. There is a deep, deep tuition cut for the program. So you can practically go for free. You can earn cybersecurity credentials. And then in partnership with Tiber Creek, which is so amazing, you can actually complete your apprenticeship year, which is often a big barrier for people that are graduating with certification, because even with entry level, they want experience. And so it's been fascinating learning about what you at Tiber Creek Consulting are doing in partnership with Blue Ridge Community College, and then the city of Waynesboro is pitched in. So it must be really, really exciting to see this unfold.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that what Blue Ridge has done is shown that, you don't need to have an expensive 4-year degree, or you don't need to be a guru with a computer since age 12. That they found the basis for entering this market, and they're able to show that with these students, they're able to get into the IT or cybersecurity space with minimal background knowledge or experience. So I think what they're doing, is just fantastic for the industry as a whole, because as you start to replicate with this model, other people start to take notice and say, hey, maybe we can come down on that 4-year degree and offer a 2-year degree, and make it a little faster, because what they're doing at Blue Ridge has been so quick. And, I can very much speak to the quality of candidates that they've given to us. I mean, it's been nothing but fantastic. So I think what they're doing is really great down there, and they continue to have that success with the apprenticeship program.
Nice. Yes. I know I kind of sound like an ad for the program at this point, but like I said, I couldn't find anything that was a negative when I was hearing about it. And so yeah,
I'm very
this
much the same way. I think that,
yes.
when I first heard about it, I was like, where's the catch? Where is
I
it? There is no catch. And that's why sounding like an ad, I mean, I
right.
I get that, because I'm like, hey, there's no catch here. It's a win-win-win situation.
Right, exactly. So the other thing that I wanted to hear from you about is the many, many opportunities that are available within that cybersecurity path. So I know when I first learned about it, I sort of thought it was very much siloed, but in fact, you can take a lot of different directions. You can either even bring, your past experience from other career paths that you've had to the field. So speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of different avenues. I think when you hear cybersecurity, the general perception is that, there's a hacker or you have to, program just anything and everything, which it helps if you know how to do that, but it's certainly not a requirement. There's a lot of different tracks. There's, assessments and auditing. There's policy and procedure development, which is a huge need. A lot of our clients were finding out that policies and procedures are just the worst part of it. It's non-existent. So
Mhm.
just having that sort of English and background in basic like policy writing and procedure development could really take you far in a career based on policy development. There's offensive security where you are, and that's primarily where my passion lies. Is offensive, is basically where you're kind of simulating hacking, but I'm breaking into your system to tell you where your holes are.
Mm,
And I personally find that to be just super exciting.
yes.
But there's also defensive where, you're the blue team, which is stopping me from hacking in. So I'm testing your processes by simulating an attacker. There's a lot of different components, but at the end of it, I think cybersecurity, it could be, brought down to a level of you have a phone and you know how to secure your phone, whether it's introducing biometrics to log in or Face ID. If you look at that phone as an environment, that's what you're doing. You're learning about the phone, you're learning how to secure it, and then you just kind of replicate it to the environment. I think that's, typically the analogy I like to tell people is once you learn how to secure something, you just have to know how to continue to do it and replicate through the environment. So yeah, definitely a lot of different paths you can take. It just requires starting and digging in to really get started.
Yeah, and you bring up such an excellent point. There's at this point when we have phones in our pockets, we have Alexa in our home, all of us are in environments where cybersecurity becomes important. I mean, that's just the era that we live in these days.
Definitely. And you see with different environments that there's a whole bunch of IoT devices, like you said, Alexa, phone, cameras, but not a lot of interest or experience goes into the router. And we actually assessed a company very early on when we were starting, and they had the router hooked up to a camera. And so, just by going to their public IP address, you could see their camera. There was no security whatsoever. Yeah, that was just a terrible, it was just an awful example. But, we're happy to say, hey, you need to close this right now. But then you
Sure.
think about what else could there be out there when you don't have that basic knowledge of, okay, I need to make sure that this is password protected. I need to make sure that I have logging to know if someone is trying to access my Gmail or, whatever it is, that there's those baseline security concepts in place.
Right, right. And I know that there are some things that can actually help businesses get started, whether they're a small business or what their case may be. Tell me a little bit of more about what a good starting point is for a business that's listening to this episode and going, I could have been the person with the router that was hooked up to the camera, because we've never really looked at our cybersecurity before. Where's a good entry level starting point for people that want to address this?
Right. And we frequently come into scenarios where we're talking to clients that have the same exact
Sure.
use cases. And what we typically do is, we there's a national MEP, which is Manufacturer Extensions Partnership Program, that each state has. And having access to talk to those program managers really will help you at least get the baseline of where you need to go. I think that a lot of people, a lot of clients that I've talked to, actually, they like to, read the controls and try to do things themselves to save money, which, hey, I'm all for being cost effective. So I definitely get it.
Mhm.
But we had a client once that they did their own sort of pre-assessment before we did, and their budget allocation was for the project in total was like $400,000. And we came in and I was like, no, 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 this is way too much money, and you already have some of these features. We just need to turn them on. So I think that talking to someone in the industry that is knowledgeable, that should be the first step, because if you try to understand it, it'll almost seem like, oh, I have to go buy the software, do these things, but you might be able to kind of circumvent that with cost effective solutions. So I would say to any small business to reach out to your local MEP's office, so to see if they can point you in a direction. There's also tons of resources out there. There's a subreddits and discords where you can just join and ask a question, and say, hey, I have a laptop and I'm a single employee. What do I do from here? And the community is always very helpful. They'll point you articles and say, hey, you just need to talk to this person, and they'll kind of point you in the right direction. So I think that would be sort of a good starting point, and then you can know like the requirements are that you have to attest to.
Okay, great. And what does MEP stand for?
Yeah, it's manufacturers extension partnership it's a national organization. I think I might be butchering the acronym, but it's something along those lines. But they are actually for Virginia MEP, they're funded by the DoD,
Okay.
so they receive the grant money, and if you contact your MEP, they can offer you discounts for services. So right now, if you were a Virginia business, you can reach out to the MEP local office, and then they can give you access to provide an assessment at 80% of the cost. So you would only pay
Wow.
20%.
That's amazing. Yeah. So definitely, if you're a small business owner, an entrepreneur, and you're listening to this, head on over to your MEP and ask what resources they have. And we'll also put that information at the end of the episode as well. So thank you for that. Now, this is probably of all the questions, my favorite question to ask every guest, which is, where did your passion for your work come from?
Right. And, I have somewhat of a similar background to the candidates at Blue Ridge, where cybersecurity or IT was never really my thing.
Mhm.
I have my undergraduate in psychology. So I worked at a mental health institution, and then, preparing for grad school. But then I saw the cost of grad school, and then I thought, you know what, this isn't really me. Like, I'm not really liking the work. So I made that sort of transition. And I thought that, doing something that's difficult to understand, but I'm able to apply a unique twist on it now that I understand the concepts because of my psychology degree. So I think that, getting into the field has really shown me that it could be challenging and complex at times, cybersecurity, but I really love that aspect of it, like understanding how things worked, how the nature of interconnections or different ports and protocols, and understanding why one is secure and the other is not. I really just enjoy things like that. And then being able to have those discussions with other IT pros that will say, you should do this for your solution, or you should do that. It really helps me understand as everything as a whole. So I really enjoy that. And like I said earlier, I really enjoy offensive security, where I'm sending, phishing campaigns to employees, and they're clicking on that link, and I say, yep, gotcha. But it's all good, because then I can tell you where the weak link is and what to look for next time. So even though it's technically like hacking, it's a white hat hacking. It's all beneficial for improving the security of a client environment.
Right. I can imagine that a psychology degree would come in handy when you're trying to like put yourself in the mindset of a potential hacker. So that's really interesting. And I think also speaks to the fact that if you are someone that's changing degrees or changing careers, that some of your previous knowledge that you've had in those areas can really be beneficial. I know Dan was telling me about a student that was a nurse that is transitioning into cybersecurity. Um, how could someone like that, like how could a nurse transferring into cybersecurity, like how could her previous experience help her?
Yeah, I think that, everyone's a little different. So, some people are more inquisitive, some people are or process and procedure focused. So I think finding the fit for each person, regardless of where they come from or their experience, is how, you get in that right track. I
Yeah.
think with the nurse, there's different certifications in healthcare, like HIPAA, that you can bring that expertise to, because you know that the hospital's internal practices and policies, and you're able to apply that experience as well. You just need to understand the technical components. So once you understand how things work technically, you can then say, okay, well, we can increase this process of using Meditech, and we can change these certain things around when we log in. We can add biometrics, and that increases the security. So you're then, enhancing that security posture by using what you know. So I think that, just breaking in, regardless of what field you're in, I think that you're able to use what you know to apply concepts that might not have been, there before. So I think that's definitely something that, a nurse could come in and definitely change a lot of the hospital's practices and policies as it relates to cyber. There's a lot of different things that goes on there.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's also really interesting that, you can pick sort of your area of interest to work within. So let's take the nurse, for example, she's if she's interested in healthcare, she can go down that track. If you're interested in a place like the DoD or the Department of Justice, there are all these different industries, organizations that you can work within. And the other thing that strikes me is after, kind of having this conversation with you and then also talking with Dan is, to me, it seems like cybersecurity people that work within that field, they're like these unsung heroes, right? Because when you guys are doing your job really well, the rest of us don't know anything's going wrong. Like we're just, ignorance is bliss and you're protecting us and we're happy about it. Can you speak to that a little bit? Does it feel like that to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't get daily pats on the back or, anything like that. And it's funny, like you said, that if you're doing your job correctly, there won't be any, there won't be any fires, there won't be anything. It would just business as usual. So it's almost like, well, what are you doing? It's like, well, you can't understand what I'm doing, but I'm protecting everything.
Right.
But it's good in that way. I think that, having the recognition is one thing, but actually being there on the front lines to protect, I think that's where the real value is anyway. So, I think that if you're okay with not getting, daily praises and understanding that the work you're going to do, potentially people won't notice or even understand. But when you get into the community and you start to, talk with your colleagues about how you're doing solutions, you'll start to feel that sense of, accomplishment through them, or they'll say, oh, that's really cool how you set that up. Could you tell us a little more about that? And, oh, that's an interesting way you did that. So then it's more of a peer-to-peer kind of acknowledgement of your good deeds. And I think that's really cool. So they have, big conferences like RSA where everyone just comes there and talks cybersecurity. So that's where you get your acknowledgement from.
There you go. Well, on behalf of myself and everyone listening, we're just going to thank you in advance for all of the wonderful things that you're going to protect us from, I'm sure. So,
Well, I can't
um,
do anything without my team. So I
yes,
would say, pass it to my team, and,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I know that Waynesboro has really welcomed Tiber Creek Consulting with open arms. What is so great about choosing to do business in Waynesboro?
Yeah, so one of the first things that we noticed when coming into Waynesboro is that mural. Instantly I see that mural and I thought this place, has like some soul. It's a different feel to it. It's really good intro to the town and the environment as well. I think that the people are friendly. I went and got a burger and got some coffee on the main street, and it's just a really great environment. And that's what to me leads to a successful business is a great environment. If you say, what brings you to Waynesboro, I'd ask what wouldn't. It's got everything you sort of need. It's got the mountains are close by. There's not, congestion. Everyone's friendly. You have food, drinks, everything that you can possibly need. And then you set up office. As it begins to expand, you'll find that people kind of center and say, that's a good location to do some business, keeping our employees happy. Let's go for a afternoon hike and come back and then get back to work. It's just that got that feel to it. So I think that just having the presence there and just being in the community has been nothing but great for us. And I really just I love the environment.
Yeah, and it's also interesting because early on, there was kind of this idea that to work in IT, you needed to migrate to a larger metropolitan area. And now, you can really work in Waynesboro, Virginia, and have that quality of life, um, but work remotely for a company that is in a big metropolitan area. So you can kind of get the best of both worlds in what you're doing, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely. And with COVID happening, we were able to, everyone that was in the Waynesboro office was able to work from home, and they have been working from home. So it's not so much of where you are, it's just the point that you can get it done. So you don't have to move to, Northern Virginia to be able to do assessments or any cybersecurity activities. So that's really been helpful, and I think that you can start to see that as people are finding out that, hey, I can do this here in Waynesboro, then let's just stay in Waynesboro, and then sort of rinse and repeat.
Yes, absolutely. You mentioned COVID, which is definitely something I want to dive into. We're all collectively having this experience, and it's been going on for quite a while. So I'm curious how COVID-19 impacted what's going on there at Tiber Creek Consulting, but I'm also really interested from your personal perspective, what has it been like to be a leader during a global pandemic?
Yeah, so in terms of the work, there for us it really wasn't much of a drop off. We were always kind of we're really flexible with our schedule, and we're if you need to work from home someday, that's fine with us, as long as you get the work done. And that's so when COVID hit and we migrated everyone to home, it was kind of just like, okay, it's a little more bandwidth than we're used to, in terms of the connections and everything, but we're able to increase and deal with it. So technically, that was the only sort of issue, is figuring out, how to speed things up and make sure everyone has secure connections. And then, like I said, the work was just. We didn't miss a beat, but as a leader, checking in with the team and really using my psychology degree, I always like to think first about the person and their mental health. So being isolated for a bit of time can always do certain things. And I think that with people at first, it's like, yeah, work from home. Cool. I get to work in my pajamas. But then, in 6 months, it's like, oh, wow, I really miss that commute, which I do now, which is weird for me to say because I hate commuting. But, I'm like, oh, man, I kind of miss it. So checking in on, on the employees and, make sure everyone's okay, everyone on the team, their families are all right, that they're able to, just be supportive of um, everything in general as a team, I think brings us kind of closer together, where we're reaching out saying, hey, well, you want to work on this side project, or you want to kind of talk about what's going on in your family. I think that comes before anything. And that's what Tiber Creek sort of likes to for a baseline of their employee resources, we have even have the COVID leave where if your family member gets sick, that you're able to take off to help them recover. So we really prioritize having that family atmosphere first and then the work. So I think it's been sort of challenging in that way because having to really just be able to check up on everyone. It takes a little time in making sure everyone one by one individually they're okay. But I'm happy to do it. I love to make sure that everything is sort of running smoothly and everyone's happy and healthy.
Nice. Yeah, and the COVID leave, that's fantastic. I'm assuming it exists in other places, but I have not heard of that before. But that's I think, people are more apt to do better work if they feel taken care of as a person. And that certainly must go a long way to doing that. And again, like you said, another way your psychology degree is kind of helping out as we're going through the pandemic and you're having to deal with your team and everything. So really interesting. So with everything that you're doing there, and all the benefits that you see from this career path that you've chosen, what would be your best advice for people that are considering getting into the cybersecurity field?
Yeah, so I would say if you're considering it, that don't be afraid or overwhelmed because at first glance it seems like, everything you read sort of points to the direction of I've been doing this since I was 12 and I'm a hacker and I understand everything. It's not necessarily that, it takes some time, but I always tell everyone that it took me I was doing a lot of studying and book reading and watching videos, but it took me about a year until I had the aha moment of where everything sort of connects and I'm like, oh, okay, now I see how everything is sort of intertwined and this is all starting to make sense. For some people it's faster and for some people it takes a little more time, but and that's okay, you will get to that point. There's the community is always, in my experience, have been very receptive. If you have questions, entry questions, there's no dumb question. Everyone asks, hey, what's Windows 10? Like, what is it actually? And it's just like, hey, just go ahead and ask. Somebody will chime in and really help you out. So I think that being active in the community is a big thing for me because I think that if you ask a question, it shows where your gap is, and someone will help you fill in that gap. So going to subreddits and discords and just joining and trying to get involved really helps a long way. And there's a lot of free resources online where you can just go and sort of learn about the basics of IT and cybersecurity and development, and really start to have your career path defined. And in terms of certifications, I would say that a great entry level certification is the A plus certification. It's CompTIA A plus. It's really the basics of how the hardware and software and how the network and everything is sort of interconnected. It's a very that's what I started with. I got my A plus first, and it really helped me to understand the basics before I went to the more advanced concepts. But there's no wrong way. You just getting in and diving in, even though it seems scary and it's like I don't know if I could do that. I find that it's mostly a stigma. A lot of what cybersecurity is just protection. And if you learn how things work, you can learn how to protect them.
Nice. That is such good, solid advice. And there really is not a better time. If anyone is listening that is looking for a career change, if you're a high school student that wants to get on a track for a very lucrative career, practically debt free, a veteran, if you're a woman that wants to break into IT, so many scenarios. There really isn't a better time than right now to get plugged into what's going on at Blue Ridge Community College, which also can get you plugged in to Tiber Creek Consulting and potentially full-time employment. So anybody listening will have all the links that you need to check out this amazing program, this amazing partnership, and learn more. So, Joshua, it's been such a pleasure to talk with you today. I really appreciate you um, being on the show. Your story is really fascinating, and we just want to applaud all the unsung heroes that are working there at Tiber Creek Consulting. I know that, the things you're protecting us from, they're probably not going to be on the front page of the newspaper because, like we said, if you're doing your job well, no one knows any better. So, but thank you so, so much for being here.
Absolutely. And, thank you so much for having me. I think that, just being able to speak on how Waynesboro has been a great part of our success and just, just speak more about everything in cybersecurity as a whole is really beneficial for us as well. So, yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been really great and looking forward to hearing the next episodes.
Awesome. Well, everybody that's listening, please make sure that you stay tuned. We do Waynesboro at Work episodes every single month. So you can check us out on the Visit Waynesboro YouTube channel and anywhere you listen to your podcasts like Spotify. So if you want to learn more about doing business in Waynesboro, you can visit growwaynesboro.com or waynesborobusiness.com. And until next time, please stay safe and be well.